Trump created a serious rift within NATO by sending Marco Rubio to the foreign ministers' meeting in Helsingborg, Sweden, this Friday, May 22, 2026, with a warning that old Europe did not want to hear. While Rubio demands loyalty, access to bases, and more military responsibility from the allies, Trump strengthens Israel and Gulf nations against Iran, builds stronger ties with India and Japan in the Indo-Pacific, and negotiates directly with China, at the top of the chessboard. That's when the issue explodes at the heart of NATO, because Trump doesn't need to leave the alliance to dismantle its old logic. He is creating a bloc of rival superpowers outside it. But it's faster, more useful, and more loyal to American interests, while Brussels gets stuck in the bureaucratic game. If the United States now chooses allies based on what they deliver, strength and results, what is left of NATO when Trump decides that Europe has become deadweight in the New World Order? And if Trump already has Israel, the Gulf, India, Japan, and China at the table, why would the United States still depend on the old European NATO? What will become of NATO? A lot of people still believe that having a business registration number, an Instagram account, or even a website domain already guarantees that the business name is protected. But that's not how it works. The truth is simple. The brand is only really yours when it's registered with the ANPI. Without this registration, any company can try to use the same name, dispute your identity, and even put everything you've built at risk. That's why MoveOn gets involved in this process. More than 10,000 brands have already been protected. With 100% online service and operations in more than 17 countries, MoveOn has become a leader in trademark registration and is a company I fully trust. So don't wait for a problem to show up before you look for a solution. Protect your business name now. The link is in the description and in this QR code on the screen. Rubio said in Helsingborg that an alliance needs to be good for everyone involved and that there should be a clear understanding of expectations. That statement may sound simple, but it carries a strong warning. Brutal for Brussels. The United States no longer wants to support a structure where some allies ask for American protection, use American bases, and depend on the American military umbrella, but back down when Washington demands real support in a serious crisis. The statement came before the NATO leaders' summit scheduled for Ankara, Turkey, later this year. And the meeting in Sweden was precisely to prepare for that summit. The friction intensified because the war against Iran became a test of loyalty within the alliance. According to Reuters, Rubio criticized nations that did not allow the use of bases on their territories. States want more. They ask for American protection. He questioned why a nation remains in NATO if it denies the United States access in a time of war. This is the point that exposes the rift. NATO wants American strength against Russia, but part of Europe doesn't want to bear the political cost when Trump decides to act in the Middle East. Trump took advantage of this gap to show that America's priorities have changed. Instead of treating NATO as the absolute center of global security, he shifts the focus to a more flexible, more direct, and more useful network for Washington. This network doesn't depend on long speeches in Brussels. The new bloc doesn't appear as a formal organization with headquarters and a flag. It appears in practice. When Gulf leaders call Washington, Israel pressures Iran, India receives military support, Japan expands its defense, and China sits at the table to negotiate with Trump. Poland has become the example of this new logic. Trump promised to send 5,000 more American soldiers to Polish territory and justified the decision by his relationship with President Karol Nawrock. That doesn't seem like an automatic defense of all of Europe. It seems like a direct political choice. Those who are aligned get attention. Those who block the American agenda lose ground. Europe was surprised by the move because just weeks earlier there was uncertainty about the withdrawal of American troops from the continent. The message is strong. Trump is not tied to the old NATO map. He is choosing where to project power. The NATO meeting itself showed this attention. The organization reported that the ministers met in Helsingborg on May 21 and 22 to finalize preparations for the Ankara summit. Mark Rutte demanded that the allies fulfill the commitment to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP by 2035. This data reveals a Europe trying to catch up. For decades, many European governments got used to talking about collective defense, but leaving the bulk of the bill to the United States. Trump no longer accepts this game as a fixed rule. While NATO tries to manage the fallout, Trump is working on another front. In China, after the summit with Xi Jinping, Beijing announced the purchase of 200 Boeing planes and the intention to extend the trade truce with Washington. Reuters also reported that the United States authorized chip sales to about 10 Chinese companies, although no deliveries have been completed yet. This shows Trump treating China as a rival, but also as a power that needs to negotiate directly with Washington. For him, the world is no longer a room run by European bureaucrats. It's a power game: buying, selling, pressure, and results. In the Middle East, the logic also changes. The center is not in NATO, it's in the combination of the United States, Israel, and the Gulf monarchies. When the crisis with Iran heated up, regional leaders turned to Trump to try to contain the escalation, and they pushed, but he managed to do it. Empurraram a saída pela negociação. He couldn't do it. This aligns with the current news interpretation. The Abraham Accords became the foundation of a regional architecture in which Israel and aligned Arab nations tried to contain Tehran with American support. Rubio also treated the Strait of Hormuz as a red line. He said that any Iranian system of tolls or charges for passage would be unacceptable. The statement fits into the clash with NATO because part of Europe follows, but it could lessen the clash with NATO since part of Europe resists. To fully commit to the proposal to protect the maritime route, while Washington wants a parallel approach, Brazil's policy informou que ministros europeus they tried to signal willingness to help with freedom of navigation when conditions allow, but the tension was already out in the open. In the Indo-Pacific, the most important piece is the military rapprochement with India and Japan. The United States approved a $428.2 million package to support India's Apache helicopters and howitzers. This type of agreement doesn't make New Delhi subordinate to Washington, but it creates a strong military bridge in a region where China is becoming increasingly influential. Trump understands that India wants autonomy, and that's why he offers cooperation without demanding total obedience on all issues. Japan is also accelerating its military transformation. The United States Department of Commerce recorded that Tokyo approved a record defense budget of about $58 billion, or 9.04 trillion yen, for the 2026 fiscal year. This is the 14th consecutive annual increase. Japan is leaving behind its previously limited military stance and entering a more active defense phase, with direct concerns about China and North Korea. This is the mechanism that hits NATO at its most sensitive point. Trump is not just complaining, he is talking about European spending. He is showing that there are other powers ready to work with the United States in a more objective way. India brings population, market, and strategic position. Japan brings technology, industry, and presence in the Pacific. Israel and the Gulf bring intelligence, energy, money, and pressure against Iran. Poland brings alignment on the Eastern European flank. China, even as a rival, offers direct talks at the highest level. The consequence is turmoil within NATO itself. The question circulating behind the scenes is not just whether the United States will remain in the alliance. Today's meeting in Sweden serves as a gauge of this new era. NATO wants to arrive at the Ankara summit with an appearance of unity, but Trump is forcing each ally to prove their worth. Trump will continue using troops, trade agreements, energy, technology, and defense to establish a more direct order. Where the United States chooses allies based on performance, not rhetoric, NATO survives on paper, but the center of gravity is already shifting. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe, and check the comments at the end to engage more with the Milson Alves community.